Coming up on Folks, a profile of KQXL, a radio station that's winning listeners in the Baton Rouge area. Also a profile of the Shreveport Sun, a weekly newspaper in publication for almost 7 decades. And highlights from the River City Blues Festival in Baton Rouge. All on today's edition of Folks. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Folks. I'm Sonya Masingale. You know, media exposes us to all types of people, ideas, and messages. You could say that media, meaning television, radio, newspapers, and magazines, help to shape American culture. It keeps us in touch with the world. For African Americans to work in media is not enough. Ownership ensures African Americans the ability to expose, influence, and assert their own ideas. Today, we're taking a look at 2 media properties owned by African Americans. Our lead story introduces us to KQXL in Baton Rouge, a radio station that's showing up on the books as #1.
Your personal power station. Q106, KQXL, Rouge, Baton Rouge.
Peter Moncrieff is general manager and part owner of radio station KQXL in Baton Rouge. With no background in radio, he has turned a small media property into an industry leader. This means he has to live, eat, and sleep radio all day, every day.
General manager, manage the day-to-day operation, the people, the finances, the problems, the headaches, all of that goes along with running a business.
Moncrieff and his business partner bought the radio station when they realized there was no black-owned broadcasting property in the immediate area.
We saw a need for a black formatted FM station in Baton Rouge. There's always been an AM, but never an FM. So we looked at it. There was a need in the community and a chance for us to get into the business as an investment, basically, where we had several other managers prior to manage the station, and it was until 1985 when I stepped in as general manager. Number one, if you want a radio station, you can't just go out and build a radio station. There's got to be an allocation from the FCC. At that time, there was no allocation scheduled for Baton Rouge, so we were lucky enough to find a station for sale in New Roads, in Point Computer Parish, KQXL. So at that point, we looked at the property. We made a decision to buy it with the hopes of eventually moving it to Baton Rouge. That first move we made was to remove the tower of KQXL out of New Roads, 10 miles closer to Baton Rouge. And we operated there for about 3 years, which allowed us to put a real good signal into Baton Rouge. And it was after 3 years where we got another approval from the FCC to go up to 50,000 watts. And that's where we are now. That's why we're easy to hear.
Are there problems that are unique to black radio?
Number one, when we bought the radio station from the guy who previously owned it in New Roads, we found that immediately all of the white advertisers pulled off. So therefore, there we were stuck with a broadcast station with a note to pay every month and no advertising. At that time, the station couldn't be clearly heard in Baton Rouge, so we couldn't appeal to any advertisers in Baton Rouge. So we were able to work our way through that, but that was one of the biggest problems we had with the station.
Most black media managers report that attracting advertisers is a continuing problem, but Moncrieff knew when he started KQXL that he had a major advantage in that radio is reported to be the most effective way to reach black consumers. He has seen an improvement in advertising dollars spent with his station.
Yes, it's getting a lot better. We find it's getting a lot better for us. Back in 1983, when we bought the station, of course, there was a problem. Most major advertisers would not accept advertising on black radio. They felt that there was no need to advertise to the black consumer. They just felt that they would basically come into their business anyway. So we had to get over that hurdle, and by slowly educating the advertiser that there is a need to advertise to the black consumer, and that black consumer do have money to spend. And we are impulsive buyers. We spend a lot of money on services, and to get to those dollars, the advertiser needed to advertise on black radio to reach those people.
The latest rating books are showing that KQXL is leading the pack in reaching their audience. Moncrieff attributes their early morning talk show, Question of the Day, as one of the reasons why.
Question of the Day was my idea. I have to take the credit for it. It started out as basically being just one or two questions every day that we would invite the listeners to call in and make comments about it. And after a while, it got to be very popular. And we took the chance to increase it to a full hour, which is something everybody in the industry tell us is something you don't do. You don't do a talk show in the middle of morning drive. So we felt that we had an audience. We took a chance on it, and it worked for us. Most people naturally like to hear themselves on the radio, and that was basically the catch, them being able to call in, voice their opinion. Their friends and family would hear them on the radio, and that type of thing.
On Question of the Day, listeners can call in and voice their opinions on everything from infidelity to self-esteem. The program you see in progress here focuses on careers in the entertainment industry.
Welcome back to the Question of the Day this morning. Theater, the performing arts, the music industry. We're talking about all of those avenues this morning. And if you have a question or a comment for any of our guests this morning, we invite you to give us a call at 499-1106 or 800-666-1106 on the Question of the Day. Let's go to our phone lines.
All right, caller, thank you for calling. Good morning,
I think KQXL has done a good job of focusing themselves on the community needs with shows like The Question of the Day and shows like Blast, which bring back a rich cultural enrichment that other stations aren't going to touch because as far as a rating standpoint, it's maybe not quote-unquote good programming, but it's good need for the community. And I think KQXL has done a good job of presenting itself as the people's station.
It's probably better if you tell me why we're number one, but I think we're number one because we're giving the public something that they deserve, finally, a radio station that is in tune to the community's intellectual needs as well as the more basic needs. We're giving them information that they can use on a day-to-day basis, and I think that we probably appeal to our listeners from a personal standpoint also. People want to know that they're important, and I think that KQXL has succeeded at making the listener know that they're important. I think that's why we're number one.
When you take Question of the Day, a show that maybe the Arbitron ratings aren't as high as the station would like them to be, but the management has continued to do this show, and it's primarily a community involvement show. It's brought out issues, it's brought out problems in the community. I think it's forefront in that because they're willing to say that we're not worried about the ratings, we want this show to be on because the people need to have this information.
Q106 in a whole, we are out in the community and we let our voice be heard as well as hearing the voice of the community and finding out exactly what they want in radio, and we give that to them, as well as not alienating any of our white audience.
Moncrieff is not one to rest on his laurels. Due to the fickle nature of radio, he must constantly reevaluate the effectiveness of promotions and programming.
We're finding that more and more white stations are playing more and more black music. At one time, there was a distinct difference between a black radio station and per se a white radio station and the music that they played. But now, any contemporary formatted radio station, the music is basically the same. Just a matter of how much black music those radio stations will play. So it is getting to be a problem for black radio stations, whereas the other stations recognize that there's an audience out there for the black music and that they can attract black listeners, which in turn to ratings, which basically all they're looking for is numbers, and they can attract those black listeners, and they want them, you know. So it's getting to a point where black radio stations will have a hard time unless they change with the times. We've got to do the same things that they are doing. There is no loyalty to any particular station. So we've got to be able to compete equally with the other radio stations. And that's the only way we're going to survive.
KQXL has been on the air for only 6 years, but Moncrieff and his staff are looking to continue their success. They believe that commitment to the community will keep the station viable.
We do everything we can to put back into the community. We have 22 employees here that came out of the black community. And it's a matter of giving back some of the things that you've taken away. We can go in the black community and ask for listener loyalty, and but without giving something back, we'll never get that loyalty. And that's one of the things that we do that the other stations are not doing. We put something back into the black community.
I think that we have a tremendous impact on our listeners simply because we're there every day for them, which is a compliment that a lot of different aspects of life cannot receive. We're there every day, and I think that probably our listeners feel like they've gotten to know us and we've gotten to know them because we are there. We're a constant factor in everyone that listens to us in each live. And I think that the stability is what people are looking for. If they know that they can trust us on a day-to-day basis, they feel comfortable.
I've had the pleasure of working across the country. And by far, Peter Moncrieff, the owner and general manager here, is one of the most visionary people I've worked with. It was kind of surprising because Peter didn't come from a broadcasting background, and the initial reaction to me was, well, what does he know about it? But he's done a fantastic job of positioning the station as a leadership role in the community and standing behind it. He stands behind it. He says, I don't care what the ratings say. We need to stick with the question of the day because the people deserve to know that. And it takes a tremendous amount of fortitude to decide that you're going to put the people's motives and people's needs first before ratings. And that's not done all over the country.
Why do you do it?
Why do I do it? I love it. I love it.
Our next feature introduces us to the Shreveport Sun, a family-owned newspaper in Shreveport, serving the community for almost 7 decades.
Well, the Shreveport Sun was started in November 1920 by the late M.L. Collins Sr., who had been a high school principal in Shreveport, and he saw the need to have a journal, something to give black people in the city an opportunity to see news with their point of view, and to just do general things, no more than to chronicle the birth of their children, to note the times of their social events. It started with him, and I think if he left a legacy for Shreveport, it is the Shreveport Sun.
This is Andrew Harris, news and sports editor of the Shreveport Sun. This weekly newspaper started as a family business almost 70 years ago. The Sun has a readership of approximately 12,000.
I think we're very well read, far beyond what our circulation figures show. We're read all over the city by blacks and whites. In fact, I think sometimes I wonder if more whites don't read the paper than blacks. We're read all over the country. We have a great subscription list, and ever so often I hear about articles from people in remote places, people that I just didn't think that the Sun was reaching itself. Somebody will come in and say, my aunt or my cousin saw this in the Sun and they called me about it. So I think we're very well circulated. We're very well read.
Publishing a newspaper for 7 decades has not been without problems. The Sun has trouble attracting large advertisers, a problem shared by many black media properties.
Over the years, we have attracted from time to time various kinds of advertisers, but for the most part, getting the big ticket advertisers has been a difficult situation for us. I don't know if I can explain it short of calling it racism or neglect for black consumers, or just not an appreciation for black consumers, because we do reach that particular market. I don't know exactly how to explain it, and it's something we've looked at. We've done studies and what have you, but there are a number of mainstream black, white commercial businesses that get a great deal of black clientele that do not advertise with us. I don't know the reasons. It's something we've been looking after years and haven't been able to come up with a perspective on. Well, I think the greatest opposition has probably been economic. In the early days, the Sun was kept alive by small black businesses, and in later times, more white commercial businesses came into the fore and began to support the paper. And it's just been a matter of economics, more or less. I think that's the problem, the plight of most black newspapers is the economic end.
What role does the Shreveport Sun play in people's lives in this area?
Well, we think we are a very integral part of the lives of people in Shreveport. We think we're an institution. We think we're the last line of credibility. Maybe not the last line, but one of the lines of credibility. We think that we give people something that they can grasp, probably that they can get no place else, and that's a black perspective, a black point of view. And that seems to be what we work for. We try to give this community, all of our readers, something that they can use for everyday living. We hope we're a lifeline.
Being the only black-owned media entity in this area puts a large burden on your shoulders. What is your perspective on that?
Well, I don't know that it's a burden as much as it is a privilege. We like the idea. Probably competition or other black-owned media would be good, but it's just something that we're glad to think that this is our territory. It gives us more to do, more of a responsibility, but it's something that we cherish. We like it like that.
The Sun has been making its deadline for nearly 70 years and shows no signs of slowing down. But where is it going in the future?
Hopefully much bigger, much better, more powerful, more forceful, and giving a better service to the community. I think with every issue we try to build toward the future. We're never satisfied. I don't know how to parlay us 10 years hence, but I suppose that we will be bigger and better. I'm sure we'll still be in existence. We've managed to go for since 1920, so I suppose that we will still be in business and doing the job that we're trying to do.
We close today's program with music from the River City Blues Festival in Baton Rouge. The annual festival celebrates one of the great Southern traditions of blues music. Betty Lewis and the executives are well known in Shreveport, their hometown. But most people don't know that Betty is a Vietnam veteran. This is her 3rd year performing with the festival and her own original composition.
Capture all the way. I think of you in just one day. Would you know now how I feel? Would you know my love is real? Boy, if I could open up this heart of mine and let you run on in, would you know now how I feel? without your sweet love. I don't wanna leave. Do you know now how I feel? Don't you know my love is real? Tell me right, boy, you can make me cry. But just don't never ever leave. Do you know now how I feel? Yeah. Don't you know my love is real? Don't you know how I feel? Yeah. Don't you know my love? Oh, don't you know how I feel? Yeah. Don't you know my love? Oh, yeah. I know that you're the only one that's ever set my soul free. Do you know now how I feel? Don't you know my love is real? Yeah. Said if loving you is a crime, then I'm as guilty as I can be. Do you know now how I feel? Don't you know my love is real? Don't you know how I feel? Yeah. Don't you know my love is real? Oh, don't you know how I feel? Don't you know my love? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Don't you know my love? Thank you. And the next song, Drive Me Crazy, the flip side. 1, 2, 3. All right, that's the moonwalk right here. And this is James Brown right here. Wow. Baby, you know you got me shaking. Just waiting
Well, that's all for this week's program. Be sure to tune in next week for another edition of Folks. Bye-bye.
Yeah.